Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all this morning. We're up bright and early this morning to get started. I hope you were able to go to the poll everywhere and put in your vote on that survey. So I'm actually going to pull up the live results here so that you can see that. So this is the live results, and I appreciate you filling out that survey because that helps me kind of direct my presentation this morning. So it looks like the majority of you have used Zoom but never been the host before, and then that's about half of you, and the other half of you have used Zoom and you feel fairly confident with it. So that's really good for me to know this morning. Thank you for filling out that survey. All right. So this morning, I just want to let you know what our class agenda is. So I'm going to give you a personal introduction. We're going to discuss some basics of Zoom, like scheduling a meeting and inviting participants. We're also going to talk about effective virtual club meetings. I'm going to give you some resources, and then at the end, we'll have time for question and answer. So if you have anything that you'd like to ask me or clarify during this session, please just type it in the chat box, and our moderator will be compiling those questions, and she'll let me know those at the end for me to answer for you. So just once again, please remember to keep your microphone muted, type your questions in the chat box, and this session is going to be a little bit interactive, so I'm going to invite you to have another device handy. You can either open another tab on your computer screen, or you can use your phone or a tablet. Just have that handy and ready. If you have an issue, you can direct message our moderator. So my name is Audra Kohltfarber. Of course, I'm from the Arkansas-Louisiana Conference. I'm the Arkansas-Louisiana Conference Pathfinder Adventurer Council Vice Chairman. I'm also the TLT Coordinator. I also am the Club Director at Bentonville, and on your screen, this is a picture of my kids here in Bentonville, and I had to show them off because those are the folks I'm super proud of, and they are the reason why I do Pathfinders. I also hold a Master's of Arts in Teaching with an emphasis in early adolescent development. And then my husband and I also own the Pathfinder Strong brand, which I'll tell you more about as we go along. So the first slide I have here was a video I was going to show you about the very basics of Zoom. And based on that survey, it seems like most of you are pretty familiar, at least with, you've been on a Zoom before, so I don't think this video is necessary. However, I will be sharing this PowerPoint presentation, so if you feel like you would like to go back and watch this video about the basics of Zoom functions, it will be there and you can check that out after this session is over. I'll post the link for the PowerPoint at the end. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk to you about how to schedule a Zoom meeting and how to invite participants so that you can have a virtual club meeting with your kids. Now there's a few things that you want to keep in mind about security when you're scheduling a Zoom meeting. So the first thing you'd want to make sure and do is enable a waiting room. And in fact, when you joined this session today, you went into a waiting room. And what that does is it's like just a holding tank for people. And it lets the host of the meeting know, hey, somebody's here and wants in. And that gives you the ability to check that person's name and make sure, do I really want this person in my meeting or not? So it just gives you that extra layer of security so you can let in the people that you want. And when you're in the waiting room, they can't see anyone's video or anyone's picture while they're in there. You also want to enable mute upon entry in your settings, that just when people join, they're automatically muted, which cuts down on the background noise. Using a meeting passcode is also something you want to consider. It's another layer. It requires people to put in a password as well as clicking the link for your Zoom meeting. You want to disengage join before host. So if you have join before host selected, that means anyone can hop on the meeting before you're there, which means that you could potentially have several kids in your meeting room without you doing who knows what. And then also have your participants rename themselves. As you can see, sometimes when you join with your phone, your participant name will just be iPhone or iPad. And if your video is not going, you have no idea of knowing who that is. So having participants rename themselves is important for security. All right, so I'm going to walk you through now how to schedule a Zoom meeting and how to invite participants. All right, so you're going to go to zoom.us, and then in the top right corner, you're going to click My Account. And then all your account information will show up here. Those settings that I just talked to you about would be right here in this button on the left that says settings, where you can change all of those security things that we talked about. But to schedule a meeting, you're just going to go right here where it says meetings on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, there's a button over here that says schedule a meeting. Pretty easy. Now, if you have a free version of Zoom, Zoom is only going to allow you to have a 40-minute meeting, and then it's going to kick you off. If you have different paid versions of Zoom, that time can be unlimited. So Zoom is great for the budget too, because you can purchase it on a yearly basis or a monthly basis. And the very first tier up of Zoom is, I think, $15 a month. So that's not going to break the bank, and you can only purchase it on the months that you're going to need it, which might be every month, but you could not purchase it in the summer months if you wouldn't be meeting with your club. So in the topic, you just put in Virtual Adventurer Club Meeting. You can put in a description if you want to let your participants know what you're going to do that night. You are going to schedule your meeting. My club meetings are always on Wednesday. You'll put in a time. And then the duration, you can set to whatever, like I'm going to set it 2 hours. That doesn't mean Zoom's going to kick you out at the end of that 2 hours. That's more just to kind of let your participants know how long the meeting is going to last. If you want this to be recurring, like it happens every single Wednesday of the week, you can click this button right here and Zoom will automatically schedule those, so you don't have to do every single one. If you want people to require to be registered with Zoom before they join the meeting, you can click here. I normally don't require that. It just kind of adds too much of a headache for people. For the meeting ID, it will generate it automatically, or you can come up with your own. I usually just let it generate automatically. And here's where you do the password for your meeting. Now, Zoom will automatically generate a password, or you can do your own. Club 3000, you know, you can put in there whatever you want to for your passcode. And then this is where you also click to enable the waiting room. And that's just going to be that holding tank where people go before you let them into the meeting. I also highly recommend that you have the host and the participant join with their video on. That helps you know who's in the screen for added security. For audio, you want to click both to allow people to join audio over their phone, like a phone call, or they can join Zoom with their computer speaker too. That gives people more options. You want to make sure this enable join before host is turned off, so you don't have people in your waiting room doing in your meeting doing who knows what without you. You want to mute participants upon entry, so you can get rid of that background noise. And then when you're done, you're just going to click save. And now your meeting is scheduled. So when you click on this meeting tab on the left here, you can see all of your meetings that you have scheduled coming up. So how do you invite participants to your meeting? Well, once that meeting gets scheduled, it pops up a screen like this, and you'll see this big link right here in the middle of the screen. That is the link for your Zoom meeting, and that's what you want to share with participants. Over here on the side in these teeny tiny little blue letters, you can also see where it says copy invitation. If you click that, the whole invitation will pop up, and this tells people how to join with their computer or how to join with their phone. So you can share this, and it gives the password in it, so you can share that with your participants. Now, I wouldn't just post this on your public social media. This should be private and shared only with the people that you actually want to join your Zoom meeting, so it doesn't get out there to the public. So send it through private message, send it through text message, send it through email, but don't just post it publicly, because anyone who has that link and that passcode can come onto your meeting. All right, so that's the basics of how to schedule a meeting and how to invite participants. If you have any questions about that, go ahead and pop those into the chat box and we'll address those at the end. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is how to be effective with your virtual club meeting. And I believe there's 3 keys to this, and that is to set guidelines, to be interactive, and to have structure. You can do those 3 things, I think you'll have a successful club meeting. So Zoom meetings can easily become this, where everyone is talking at once and there's no guidelines set about how people interact, and you have all this talking and background noise, the dishwasher's running, somebody just rang the doorbell, the dog is barking, the phone just rang, you know, and you have all of this going on in the background, and makes your club meeting super distracting and you can't tell who's talking or what's going on. So in order to avoid that, set some guidelines. So you should ask yourself two things. How will your participants interact with staff and each other? So think about that. And then the second thing you want to think about is, how are you going to manage the behavior of your participants while they're in the Zoom call? So here's some example guidelines that we have used in our club that we found to be very successful. The first one is to use the video. That way I can see you in the screen. I can see that you're sitting, that you're engaged, that you're not on your phone, and that you're following along with whatever we're doing. Keep muted. That prevents that picture that we just saw. And then we set up a system in advance where if participants want to make a comment or want to say something, they just type "me" in the chat box. And then when I see somebody's chat come up with the word "me," I can call on them individually. They can unmute themselves, they can say what they want to, and then remute themselves. So just as long as you set up some kind of process for how people are going to be able to make comments. We set the guideline that people have to be engaged and present. That means they're not on their phone. That means they don't have another tab open. And then also have another device handy. If you're going to be interactive with your club meeting, it's probably pretty sure thing that they're going to need another device to do some kind of interactive game that you have set up for them. Also, you probably want to have your chat closed during presentations. Now, you can't just turn off the chat feature, but you can set up the expectation that, hey kiddos, you know, while someone is actively presenting or talking, the chat is closed. That means that you're not just having social chats with each other or with the whole group while someone is presenting. It's pretty much the same thing as just talking out loud during a presentation. We wouldn't do that when we were in person. So we don't want to chat over a presenter while they're doing that. Of course, if they have a question or a comment, they could type "me" or whatever you have set up, but just social chat would be closed during the presentation. And then set up a process ahead of time for who people are going to message if they have a question about something. So in our club, if you have questions about your points, you direct message this staff member. If you have a problem with your Zoom, you direct message this staff member. So just set up that ahead of time about who people are going to contact if they need help. All right, step number 2 to have a successful and effective club meeting is to be interactive. So you need to be asking yourself, how will you keep your Pathfinders engaged? Now, it's really easy for Zoom to become a sit and get, where I just sit here for 2 hours and stare at a screen and watch you talk to me. And that does not work out so well for kids. In fact, you know, let's be honest, sometimes it's hard for us adults to just sit and stare at a computer screen and listen for a long period of time. So think about ways how you're going to keep your kids engaged. And I do have a variety of different free services here linked on this page that you can use to do interactive games and things with your club. And in fact, we're going to try one out today. Kahoot, you may have heard of. I think you're going to get to try that out later today too. But we're going to try out this one right here that says Quiz Is. So this is just a free game service that you can use for a variety of different reasons. So now is the time for you to get out your other device, your phone, your tablet, or open a new tab on your computer screen. And will you please go to joinmyquiz.com and put in this code. And I'm going to ask our moderator if she'll please put that information in the chat box. We're going to go to joinmyquiz.com and put in that code. And this is what my screen looks like as you are doing that. You can see that the people are popping up. You put in your name there. And with quizzes and Kahoots and different services like this, there is a bank of games that are already made by people out there that sometimes you can find something that you can use without having to make your own. For example, my club was doing an honor a couple months back, and we needed a game about electricity. So I just came on to one of these services and I searched the database for games about electricity, and I found one right away that was perfect, that we could use, and I didn't even have to make it myself. So that's what's great about these services, is there's a lot of things made already and you don't necessarily have to make them yourself. All right, so I've got 20 people in to the game already. I'm gonna wait about 30 more seconds for any of those last stragglers to get in on the game. All right, I'm gonna count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and clicking the start button. So I'm gonna have on my screen what the game actually looks like. So that way, if you weren't able to get on with your device yourself, you can still kind of see what this game would look like on the player end. And that's what it looks like here on the player end. So we've got a question: how can we learn to be more content? Prayer, depend on God, trust God, all of the above. And if you're playing on your own device, there will be a leaderboard and you'll be able to watch the players rise and fall as they get more points and answer questions correctly. You can see there's the leaderboard. You also get power-ups that you can use in this game, and those power-ups will show up in the bottom left corner. We got Cinda Grant leading us in first place. And this is just a little 5-question game. I just wanted to demonstrate kind of what this looks like. And then when you finish all the questions of the game, it will pop up a giant leaderboard, and you'll be able to see everyone who's playing and their status. We've got Annie Hollenbeck leading us in first place right now, followed by Maritza and Esther Doss. And also, you can tell if the kids have completed it or not. So if you look here, you can see this black space in the bar. So that means that they still have questions left to go. Their bar will be completely full if that person has finished. So it's also easy for you to know who's actually engaged in playing. Like some people join the game, but they've only answered one question. So you might be thinking, are they not really engaged with me right now? So you can kind of wait until you see that everyone has had the opportunity to answer all the questions and their bar is full. I'm going to give about 30 more seconds for people to get their last answers in. Still got Annie Hollenbeck leading the pack here, folks. Got almost everybody with all their questions answered. 10 seconds. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll end the game. And then it pops up this cute little graphic here about who won. So first place, Annie Hollenbeck. Let's give her a round of applause. And second place was Maritza, and third place was Esther Doss. So congratulations. Woo woo. All right, so that's just kind of what one of those interactive games looks like. That one was quizzes. And all these different things here are linked, so you can try out all these different games to be interactive with your club meetings. All right, step number 3 to make sure that you have an effective and successful club meeting is to have structure. And this is so important. So having structure means having an agenda, delegating tasks. You know, you'll see in our meeting conference today, there's several people working together to make this meeting work. And that is the same way with your club meetings. You need to work together with your staff to make it work. And you don't have to do it all by yourself. You can have a staff member that monitors kids for their points. You can have a staff member that is the one that always starts out the meeting. And then you can delegate different activities and responsibilities to different people throughout the meeting. Even if you just have 2 or 3 staff members, delegate and get them to help. You do not have to do it yourself. So I want to encourage you to use slides to guide your meeting. Just like I'm using slides to guide my presentation today, you can do that. And I'm going to show you where you can download some slide templates, so you don't even have to come up with that yourself. You can just get started with something somebody else has made. Also, have repeating elements and consistency, something that the kids can count on. That also helps you a lot with planning, because if you have 3 or 4 or 5 things that you do every meeting, then you don't have to reinvent the wheel and replan your meeting every time. Stick with those consistent things and then just fill in the gaps with new things. So here's a sample meeting structure that we found pretty successful with our club. So we always start out by reviewing the meeting guidelines. Never just assume that the kids remember what's expected of them in the meeting. Review it every single time. Let them know every single time that you expect them to keep their microphone muted and what they can do to interact, or if they want to say something. Review that every time. We always have opening prayer. You can say the pledge and law, which is a great icebreaker. If you have everybody unmute themselves and then count 1, 2, 3, and everybody says the pledge and law together, it sounds horrible, okay? And usually everybody's laughing by the end of it because, you know, there's all these people at different points in it, and the feedback is just funny. But it's just a great way to kind of get everybody out of their shell and laughing together at the start of the meeting, and then you can rein them back in, have everybody mute, and go on with your meeting. So we have worship, and then our meeting content is kind of in the middle. That's your honors, your investor achievement, your activities, your guest speakers. We also have sharing time every meeting. And I'm actually a huge proponent of sharing time. Like I said, it's so easy for your meeting just to be sit and get, where you just sit and watch and listen the whole time and never say anything. What we do with sharing time is at the end of our meeting, we have some kind of a thought question. So like, what would you do if you had $1 million? Or during the quarantine, when we were all stuck at home, our questions were, if you could go out and eat at any restaurant you wanted, which one would it be and what would you have? You know, just some kind of thought question that a kid can relate to. And then we call on every single person in the club to unmute themselves and say their answer to the question and then remute themselves, which that kind of forces everybody to have a time where they can speak and contribute to the meeting. And it's also great to help people get to know each other and learn things about your club members that you might not otherwise. And you know what, I'll be honest with you, I think one of the reasons, you know, back in March through May, our club was meeting virtually. And one of the reasons it was so successful is because our kids already had their relationships built with each other. You know, they wanted to get on the Zoom meeting and they wanted to come see their friends because they were already friends. They already had a relationship. So, you know, if you're starting out virtual meeting, you may have to work extra hard to make sure that you build those relationships with your kids and you, so that they want to come to the Zoom meeting and hang out with you and see their friends. You know, we all know early adolescents are highly motivated by seeing their friends and hanging out with your friends. You know, I'll let you in on a secret. The kids aren't coming to your virtual club meeting, you know, because of the awesome worship you prepared or because of the awesome honor they're going to get. They're coming to your club meeting because they want to see you. They want to see your staff members. They want to see their other friends. That's their primary motivation on why they're coming. So work extra hard to build those relationships between your kids. And then, of course, closing prayer. I'm actually going to pause here and I want to show you a sample meeting structure. I'm going to show you an Adventurer and a Pathfinder virtual meeting structure. And both of these are actual meetings that we've had and use these actual slides. So this is real life. So we have a slide here. This is what's shown as people join. I usually have a fun little picture or meme there so people have something to look at while they're joining the meeting. And then we always display the agenda of what's going to happen tonight. You know, you as an adult, you like to know what's coming up and what the schedule is. Well, guess what? The kids do too. They like to know what's coming and what's going to happen tonight. Like I said, we always go over the meeting expectations. As redundant as it might seem, always go over those guidelines. And then in our club, you know, in our conference, our point system is based on the Pathfinder law, and we go over that at the beginning of the meeting. Hey, this is what you're going to be getting points on. So we're going to be watching for these things as we're doing the meeting this evening. And if you have any questions about your points, we have a staff member that's only job during our club meeting is to take care of the points and to monitor the behavior of the kids. Then we have opening prayer, which I usually delegate to one of the kids. And then we had a few guest speakers. I think we were doing an honor about plants or gardening or something this night. So we had some different guest speakers come and talk to us about different things. You may recognize Ben Roy. He did a science presentation for us. We had a Quizlet live game. So Quizlet is another online interactive game program. The one we did was Quiz Is. This is Quizlet. Similar. Then we did a letter writing outreach project. We had a picture there of kids mailing their letters to elderly church members or people that were shut in during the quarantine. And then, of course, we had our sharing time. And this happened to be the question where we were asking them if they could go to any restaurant, which one would it be? Then we had announcement time. If they had questions or comments, they could type me in the chat box. And then we had closing prayer. And that was our 2-hour club meeting. And these slides just help you have that structure to guide your meeting. Okay, this is a sample Adventure Club meeting. This one is actually happening today, later today. So anyway, this is the slide that's shown while people join. And I'll actually show you where to find these cute graphics of these cute little adventure kids. So, of course, we always go over the meeting guidelines to let the kids and the parents know what's expected of them. With adventures, we require a parent to be visible with them in the screen at all times. We have our agenda. It's just a 45-minute for the adventurers. You know, they don't have quite the attention span that the older kids do. And this adventure meeting is going to be all about getting the dog honor, or dog awards, excuse me. So we do our prayer, pledges, and singing. So on the next slide, we have the law and the pledge for the adventurers there. I have a little YouTube video that's embedded where we all sing along to the adventurer song. Then we have our worship time, our learn about Jesus time. And we got another video embedded here. It's all dog themed because of the dog award. Verse that went along with that. Then we have a story time, and you don't always have to have these elements in here. You can mix and match elements, story time, craft time. We actually mail out packets in advance to our adventurer members. You know, with little kids, they sometimes need that tangible stuff in their hands to work along with you. So mailing out those packets gives them something to hold and do while they're following along with your virtual meeting. We had a game time, and with games, we are actually playing one of those virtual interactive games, a Kahoot. And then we have our goodbyes and our prayer, and that is our 45-minute Adventure Club. And we will also make sure that you have access to these slides to look at, and you can use them, change them. I'll give you the link for all of these little cute little characters, adventure characters that you can use on your slides or information as well. All right. All right, so now is the time for you to get ready for the question and answer session. So if you have thought of anything that you have for a question, can you please go ahead and put that into the chat box now? And in just a few minutes, we'll be ready to answer those questions. But go ahead and make sure you get those in the chat box now so that when it comes time, you will be ready to answer them. All right, so the last thing today is I want to share with you where you can have access to some different resources. And I told you at the beginning, my husband and I have the Pathfinder Strong brand. And we have a website. We have 2 apps for Android and iPhone, and we also have a YouTube channel. So I'm going to share that with you today. And our moderator will put these links into the chat box as well. So first we have our Pathfinder Strong website. And on here, you can find all kinds of different information and resources. Pretty much everything that I have mentioned today is on there. We have a whole page about virtual meeting tips and resources. So you can find meeting templates. You can find links and tutorials for all of those interactive games. And this is compiled from throughout the conference. So this is not just stuff that I have personally come up with. It's things that all different directors from the conference have come up with, and we've compiled that here on this website. And then along with virtual meeting things, we also have TLT curriculum guidelines. We have different honor teaching packets. We have information about team building activities and just a lot of things that I want to invite you to go and check out there at our Pathfinder Strong website. Also, we have 2 iPhone and Android apps. We have the Pathfinder Strong Honor Finder, and we have the Adventurer Strong Award Finder. And both, like I said, these are available on Android and iPhone. On these apps is all the honors and all the awards and all the stars and all the chips and their requirements, pictures of what the patch looks like. And then the coolest thing about this is it's like an interactive worksheet. So when you open an honor or an award, you can type the answers to all the different question requirements in there. And then you can have the kids email that information directly to you as a director. So this works great for virtual honors. So you can have kids working on their phone or tablet, typing in the answers to the different requirements, and then they can email that directly to you. And later on today, there's going to be a training session on how to use these 2 apps. Lastly, we have our Pathfinder Strong YouTube channel. This is real life pathfindering, and sorry, adventurer folks, but it's mostly pathfindering. There are some things there that can be helpful to you also. But this is real life pathfindering and things that we do in our club and in our area and in our conference and what it really looks like in real life. And our mission there is just kind of to inspire you with ideas. Hopefully you can find something that you could use or tweak to make your own club thrive. So I invite you to check that out and subscribe to that YouTube channel. We put new videos up quite often. All right, now is the time for question and answer. So I am ready for those whenever moderator is.
Okay, so our first question this morning, someone asked, can you just briefly go over Poll Everywhere and explain a little bit more how it works, where you go, that kind of thing?
Yes, so Poll Everywhere is a free service. It's just polleverywhere.com. This was this morning's poll that we did. So when you go to Poll Everywhere, you're just going to click here in the corner, Create. And then what's cool about this is you can see there's a lot of different options. You can do word clouds, Q&As, clickable images, surveys. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different polls that you did. The one I did today was just a simple multiple choice. And it's all right here on this one screen. So you just type in your question, and then you put in your multiple choice answers, and then you click Create, and blammo, you're done. And so after you click Create, it pops up looking like this on your screen, and it gives people 2 options. You can use the website for people to go, or there's a text option here where they can text their answer in, which is great, especially if you have a family that has multiple kids. So maybe you have a family that has 3 Pathfinders, and they all join together on one virtual meeting screen. So they're all together on one account. The Zoom polling features don't really work so well for that because they just allow one response. But if you use an outside polling feature, that means each of those 3 kids can have their own say into whatever it is you're doing. And this could work for honor requirements, or if you're doing something for worship or whatever. The big thing to remember about Poll Everywhere is this button right here that says Activate. If you do not click that Activate button, no one will be able to answer your poll. So that's the big tip right there, is make sure you click this activate button when you're doing poll everywhere.
Okay, thank you. Our next question specifically was referring to quizzes. The question was, how is the ranking done as far as the quizzes at the end?
Okay, so I guess you're talking about like who wins. So the ranking, it's based on two things. It's based on speed and accuracy. So the faster you answer the question, the more points you get, but also you have to have accuracy. So if you just click something randomly and get it wrong, then you don't get any points. But it has to be both accurate and done quickly. So it's based on those two things, depending, and that ranks people depending on that. And there's also power-ups. So some power-ups are, you could click a power-up and it would let you get like double points for a question or something. So that plays into it as well. So accuracy, speed, and then depending on what power-up you used in the game.
Okay, our next question said, I tried to share a YouTube video on Zoom and no one could hear the sound. What was I doing wrong?
Okay, so that is a super easy mistake to make. And in fact, I did it earlier while you were joining the quizzes and I had to stop my screen share and fix it. So when you do screen share, and I don't know if, I don't think that will show up on my screen share, but when you click screen share on your Zoom meeting, it pops up a box and lets you select what you want to share. And then in the bottom left corner in teeny tiny little letters, there's a click box that says share computer sound. And you have to make sure you click that teeny tiny little box in the bottom left corner that says share computer sound. If you don't do that, no one will be able to hear your YouTube video. And I'm glad you brought that up because you can absolutely watch videos together over a Zoom meeting, but just make sure you click that share with sound. It's super easy to overlook. And if you forget to click it, you can just stop your screen share and then share again, and it will pop up that same box again asking you what you want to share. You can click that little box in the corner.
And I'll just add for you, Audra, when you are sharing your screen, you will have like your user bar from Zoom, and there's like three little dots. And if you click that, it will do a drop down, and there's also a way to share with sound from there too. So if you don't want to end your screen share, you can do that as well. Okay, the next question is, we were meeting via Zoom from April to June. I had to take a break emotionally. How do I get them excited about rejoining Virtual Pathfinders?
That's a good question. And I'm glad to hear, actually, I just want to start with saying I'm glad to hear that you took care of yourself. Because, you know, if we're empty, we can't give to our kids. So don't feel guilty about taking care of yourself. Sometimes we have to do that. So I'm glad to hear that you did that. So as far as getting people motivated again, I don't know if you have club social media accounts, I would start launching a social media campaign, just of different exciting things that you're going to do. Depending on how technologically savvy you are, there's a website called canva.com. Maybe our moderator will put that in the chat. And Canva is a partially free service. You can do pretty much everything basically for free in Canva. And it helps you create some really nice graphics that you can post on social media. And what's cool about it is it automatically sizes them. Like you can select, I want to do a Facebook post, and it'll automatically size your graphic so that when you post it on Facebook, it'll look super nice in that little box. So I would make up some graphics of different things that you're going to do excitingly for your club. On my website, pathfinderstrong.weebly.com, on that virtual meeting tips, there's actually a link to Canva and some sample graphics that we've made using Canva. And that kind of gets kids' attention. I would also probably make sure that your very first meeting that you have is something exciting. A lot of kids will, you know, their first impression is really important. So make sure that whatever you do for that first meeting is something that they go home thinking, oh my gosh, that was awesome and I can't wait for next week. So work on that. And then the third piece would be that relationship piece. However, you can use the relationships that the kids have with each other. You know, peer pressure is really strong in early adolescence, so use it. Get one of your kids that's really into Pathfinders and be like, hey, you know, I need your help. I need you to go talk with this friend, that friend, and that friend, and get them to come back to Pathfinder. So use your kids to help you talk to their friends and get their friends excited about coming to Pathfinders. That's going to be, or adventurers, I'm sorry. That's going to be way more effective than you trying to get them excited. So that's what I would do. Launch that social media campaign, have a smashing first meeting, and then use the kids to get each other excited about coming back.
Okay, the next question is, I noticed this is recording. I would love to get a copy or link or whatever so that I can get a lot more proficient before I start a meeting. Is that possible?
Yes, all of these meetings are going to be posted on YouTube, and we'll share the links. You need to go to that tiny URL, Innovate 2020 resources link, and put your contact information there, and all the resources from today, including the videos, will be shared with you.
Our next question was referring to breakout rooms. What about separating kids into rooms in Zoom for different levels of adventures and Pathfinders? Is that possible?
Yes, it is. So I don't think breakout rooms you can do that with the free version. The free version, like I said, is only a 40-minute meeting. So you'll have to get the first tier at least of Zoom, and then you can use breakout rooms. And it's pretty simple. It'll just show up in your toolbar, your Zoom toolbar in the bottom, breakout rooms. And you can assign how many different groups you want. So if you have 4 different levels, and you make 4 groups, and then you can manually assign people to groups, or you can randomly assign people to groups. So you could put all of your builders together in one class, all of your companions together in one breakout room. And I think that would work fabulously for investiture achievement classes and then the different adventure levels. And if you need help doing that, Zoom has a YouTube channel, and on Zoom's YouTube channel are tutorials on how to do everything Zoom related. So you can go there and find a video specifically about how to use their breakout rooms.
Okay, our next question was, will we ever be able to, do you think we will ever be able to have regular meetings for our clubs to meet in person? And also add on from another question, what are some of these, are these resources able to use in an in-person setting?
So I'm going to go with that second part first. Everything I have shown you today, you can use in an in-person setting. The quizzes, the Quizlets, all those interactive game features, I've been using those in my club face-to-face for years. Every kid just needs a phone or a tablet, and they participate the same way in face-to-face as they would not face-to-face. And this afternoon, we're going to have a class about safety in the Pathfinder Club, and I think they're going to address possibly COVID-19 concerns regarding face-to-face meetings. I will tell you right now that my club has been meeting face-to-face for a month now. We do so under very strict guidelines. All of our meetings are outdoors. We wear masks, we social distance, we don't share anything. But we've been meeting face-to-face for a month now, and it's been very successful. It's very different, very, very different, but it's been successful. So I think it can be done. We're planning to go back virtual mid-November through mid-January, because we know that people will be traveling for the Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's holiday, and we just don't want to risk, contamination from people who have traveled. So we're going to go back virtual for those months, November through mid-January, and then we'll reevaluate then. But our plan right now is to meet face-to-face until mid-January or mid-November, unless, the world falls apart. So it can be done. And I'd be happy to talk to you more about that individually if you want to reach out to me.
Okay, and our last question.
Okay, perfect.
We have one last question.
Perfect.
This person was asking, what do you recommend resource-wise to do for slow readers in a virtual setting?
So that's a good question. And, I'm a teacher, and we deal with that every day at school, kids on all different kinds of reading levels. And I would say probably just introduce more pictures. Especially if you have a picture accompanying a text. A picture helps kids build that background knowledge and helps them with harder vocabulary words that they may not know. But if they have a picture to look at and some kind of frame of reference, that usually will help them decode the meaning of the text a little better. You could also assign buddies to help people. We did that with a kid once that we used to read out of a book for worship at our club, and we had a kid that desperately wanted to participate, but listening to him read was like, you know, plucking your eyebrows out one at a time. So we had a buddy that would sit next to him and would whisper into his ear what to say, and then he would say it verbally, and it made him feel like he was contributing, only with a little bit of scaffolding. So just that's a difficult one, but I would say introduce more pictures, and maybe, if you know, assign them a helper from their household. Oh, and that was the last question. So thank you, Beth. All right, so I just want to wrap up today by sharing this information with you. This is my email address and also my Facebook page, if the moderator will put that in the chat. If you want to contact me about anything, you know, I'm a teacher by day and a Pathfinder by night, but I love to talk about Pathfinders, and I can talk about adventures a little bit too. So if you have anything that you need help with, or that you didn't understand and you want to talk about more, if you just want to bounce ideas, or you know, if you need an ear to listen or someone to help inspire you, I am more than willing to talk to you and help you with anything. So please reach out to me. And lastly today, I'm going to ask you to fill out one more thing for me. So you're going to need that extra device or tablet or another tab. And we'll put this link in the chat box for you. Go to Answer Garden. So Answer Garden is a free service where people can respond to a question, and then it puts their answers in a cool little word cloud, so you can see which ones popped up the most. So if you'll please go to that Answer Garden link and answer the question that you see there, I would appreciate that. And I just want to end by thanking you for your time this morning and for listening along with me. And once again, if you have any other questions or anything you want to talk to me about Pathfinders or adventures, I am more than willing to do so. So God bless you all. You know, I just want to encourage you. It's a strange time that we're club leaders in, and I just want to encourage you that we can do this. It may be difficult. We may have to learn some new things that feels, you know, strange to us, but it can be done. And I just want to encourage you that you are not in this alone, and reach out and let's support each other and go forward and have an awesome year of club ministry. Thank you.